Now I got a great one for you. Arguments. What are the dynamics of an argument that goes on in a relationship, especially in a marriage relationship? I'll tell you what, I have learned some mind-opening pieces of information on this topic over the last few years. A lot of this actually came from the book Love and Respect by Emerson Eggerichs, and it's really been eye-opening. But the more you dig into it and think about and ponder these ideas, the more you realize that, wow, I know we argue way too much, but as I think about what it is that we're arguing about, and especially think about it in the terms that we're going to try to discuss here in the next few minutes, I'm seeing a whole different perspective of things. So, what do you think an argument's really about? You're going, well, an argument can be about anything. We argue about money, we argue about food, we argue about the car, we argue about the kids, we argue about this. Interestingly enough, from everything I can gather, and the more I think about this, and this is an interesting point from the Love and Respect book, is that an argument is never about the issue that really started the argument. He says the issue in an argument is never really the issue. And you're going, what? Well, I thought we were arguing about the kids. And it's been going on for a long time and whatever. And his answer is no. The issue that started the argument is really just the trigger that set off the argument itself. The argument really is an ongoing thing that's happening between us, because if you go to my CD about love tank, or my video about love tanks, what an argument's really about is that we've drained each other's love tanks or love account or reservoir down to nothing, and we're fighting about that I don't feel loved, my opinions don't feel like they matter here, and that ends up being the back and forth of the argument. Think about how many arguments have you ever been in, and after it got started, the favorite ammunition that we come back at each other is, well, 2 weeks ago you said this, and a year ago this was your stand on this, and for the last 5 years in our life this has always been the case. Isn't that how most of our arguments go? And we really end up talking about what happened in the past, not about the thing that triggered the argument today. And I thought that's really profound. And it is something that we really need to think about. And as it turns out, really, the times that we're arguing in a negative, heated sort of way, it is a very negative situation. And it comes because we don't feel loved, or we don't feel respected, or we don't feel that our opinions are loved, respected, cared about, anything else. And that's why we're going round and around and around here. And it literally is a back and forth from one side to the other sort of a thing that goes on and literally goes back in historical things that have happened in the past. And an interesting dynamic goes on between men and women in an argument. I think a lot of guys are going to tell you, the ladies, we just feel like we never stand a chance when we get in an argument with you, because you've always got a very well thought out plan of attack that you're going after in the argument, where you've got all your thoughts and ducks lined out in a row. You know exactly what you're talking about, and we get hit with this objection. We're like, I don't remember quite what I was thinking there. I can't remember. My mind's all in a frazzle, and I can't even draw back the exact experience to say, no, that's not what happened. And we feel attacked. Okay? And men in an argument almost always feel attacked. We feel like argument, like conflict, which is what an argument is, equates with contempt, which is exactly the opposite of this feeling of respect that we crave. And so when an argument happens, it's like we are the most despicable, disrespectable, contemptible person on the planet because we're an idiot, and we totally feel attacked from it. And then that gets into the old fight or flight response that men have, and the way we fight comes out hopefully not in physical abuse type thing, but it comes out in arguing and defending ourselves. I did not know, that's not what I meant, I didn't do that, you're wrong, I'm not that kind of person, etc., etc., etc. It's the defense mechanism kicking in, okay, which is the fight thing. The flight thing comes very often. Ladies, you'll see a lot of guys go, well, and they don't say this out loud, but in their head they're going, you know what, I'm above this, and somebody's got to be mature enough around here to stop this arguing thing, and so we will shut up and figuratively at least leave the situation, and very often physically leave the situation. We'll go outside and do whatever guys do, okay? And it's literally a fight or flight response that most guys have to that feeling of contempt. Guys, what we've got to understand is ladies, on the other hand, approach an argument in a very different mindset. And that is, what they're trying to do is get a resolution of this issue. And they're willing to prepare an argument, just like an attorney would, and come out here and say, look, how come you don't know any better than that? How come you didn't think this the way I did? And let's get through this thing. Don't you run away from me. You sit down here so that we can talk and get this thing worked out. I don't care if you feel disrespected. The point here is more important than the disrespect thing. We've got to get this resolved. And ladies tend to push for a resolution whenever there's an argument situation going on. So if you look at this dynamic, guys, can you see how we really can't even come to a good conclusion in an argument because we're both wanting different things? And so that's why the dynamics of an argument create a no-win situation in an argument. And it becomes a critical piece for us to understand why we've got to be able to put the emotional side of an argument aside and say, honey, we need to talk about this, and maybe right now is not the best time. Can we take a half hour tonight and sit down and peaceably go through this so that we can have a discussion about this, where you can lay out your ideas here, your plan, and you can ask me what I think on it, and I can talk about my ideas here and say, where do you see that we ought to be? And we can come to then a conclusion that we both agree on, which then becomes a powerful tool for us to use in our marriage relationships and our parenting. The same concept even applies when we're in the workplace. And we need to be looking out for how those dynamics work in an argument so that we can A, avoid them, and B, change it from an argument into a real level-headed discussion that actually seeks for a win-win situation that can really go out and make a difference here. Excuse me. One of the key factors excuse me, in how do we get this downward spiraling thing to stop is that we need to look at what can we do to diffuse an argument when it happens. And this is going to be one of the very few strategy-oriented things that I will ever teach here, because I'm all about principles and underlying things. But there's a strategy here that's actually principle-based that can diffuse this argument and get us sitting down having a discussion instead. And it's a real simple sentence from Dr. Eggerich's Love and Respect book that I think is inspired. It's awesome. And that is, let's assume that I'm in an argument with my wife about something. And all of a sudden I realize in the back of my head, hey, this is going down the toilet just like he said it would on that downward spiral. How can I stop it? And here's what you do. You turn to her and say, honey, did I just come across to you as really unloving? Because what you just said to me felt really disrespectful. And what you do there is you totally can diffuse the situation, because you do the exact opposite of an argument and you say, I'm taking all of the responsibility for this on myself, which is 100% the opposite. In an argument, we're trying to place responsibility and blame on the other person. Can you see the power in that tool? I challenge you to think about that. See if you can start using that in your life, in your relationship. See ya.